Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the surprisingly high-stakes, fiercely witty world of Jane Austen's masterpiece, Pride and Prejudice. You know, if you thought this was just some simple story about tea parties and polite ballroom dancing, well, you're in for a surprise. Get ready for a plot absolutely packed with intense social maneuvering, hidden scandals, and some truly dramatic character arcs. We're going to break down the detailed plot, the unforgettable characters, and the fascinating Georgian-era setting that makes this one of the most beloved stories ever written. Let's get right into it. We've got to start with this brilliantly famous opening line. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. That right there immediately sets the stage for a society utterly obsessed with matchmaking. In the world of the landed gentry in early 19th century England, securing a good marriage wasn't just, a matter of romance. It was the absolute center of societal focus. This is especially true for families like our main characters, the Bennets, who have 5 unmarried daughters and a ticking clock on their financial security. Which brings us to a really crucial question. Because beneath all the fancy balls, the beautiful country estates like Netherfield, and the witty banter, there was a very real, very harsh legal reality for women. So was marriage about love or survival? To truly understand the intense pressure driving the characters in Pride and Prejudice, we have to look past the romance and understand the absolute necessity of what they were trying to accomplish here. Okay, Section 1, the Regency Survival Game. Let's take a look at the strict, pretty unforgiving rules of this Georgian-era survival game. Because in Austen's time, the law was definitely not on a woman's side. The harsh reality of this game started with a legal doctrine called coverture. The legal minds of the time, like Sir William Blackstone, stated simply that husband and wife are one person in law. Basically, under coverture, a married woman's legal identity, property, and income were entirely absorbed by her husband. Women had almost zero financial independence, they literally couldn't own property in their own name, and they had absolutely no legal right to their own wages. So, as you can imagine, this severely limited their choices, making a highly strategic marriage the only real fail-safe for a respectable, secure life. And that leads us to a specific crisis facing our main family, the Bennets, and that is entailment. Their family home, Longbourn, is entailed. Now what that means is because Mr. and Mrs. Bennet only have daughters, their estate will legally pass to their closest male relative when Mr. Bennet dies. The Bennet sisters have absolutely no legal claim to their own family home. So if they don't marry well, they risk being left completely destitute. Talk about high stakes, right? Moving on to Section 2, meet the players. Now that we understand the absolute pressure cooker of this society, let's meet the main characters who are desperately trying to navigate this social minefield. So here we have the 5 Bennet sisters. First up is Jane, the eldest, who is gentle and universally considered the beauty of the family. Next is our protagonist, Elizabeth. She's quick-witted, playful, and fiercely independent. Then there's Mary, who is very serious and bookish. And finally, the 2 youngest, Kitty and Lydia, who are, well, utterly silly, reckless, and totally boy-obsessed. They're all guided by their highly anxious, marriage-obsessed mother, Mrs. Bennet, and their dry, sarcastic, and somewhat detached father. And right into their lives walk these eligible bachelors, each bringing their own massive complications and romantic potential to the neighborhood. There's Mr. Bingley, a cheerful, wealthy man who quickly falls for Jane. His best friend is Mr. Darcy, a strikingly handsome guy with a staggering £10,000 a year income, but who appears incredibly proud and socially aloof. We also have Mr. Wickham, a charming militia officer with a real sob story. And finally, Mr. Collins, the pompous, obsequious clergyman cousin who, remember, is actually next in line to inherit the Bennet girls' home. Section 3. The inciting incidents. Let's see how this builds into an incredibly tangled web of drama, because Jane Austen wastes absolutely no time setting these pieces in motion. In just a matter of weeks, the plot launches at breakneck speed. At the local ball, Bingley is completely charmed by Jane, but Darcy, he refuses to dance with Elizabeth, famously insulting her by saying she is not handsome enough to tempt me. So boom, instant animosity for sure. Then, Jane falls ill at Bingley Estate, and Elizabeth treks through the actual mud to nurse her, which completely scandalizes Bingley's snobbish sister, but secretly impresses Darcy. Shortly after all that, the pompous Mr. Collins arrives seeking a Bennet bride, and the charming Wickham shows up, feeding Elizabeth a very believable lie that Darcy cruelly ruined his life. Section 4, Proposals and Prejudices. So the crucial point here is that in this society, personal feelings are constantly clashing with the absolute necessity of marriage. And we see this play out perfectly in how these characters respond to proposals. Mr. Collins proposes to Elizabeth, and he doesn't like it's a literal business transaction. Elizabeth, who deeply values love and mutual respect, boldly rejects him, much to the absolute horror of her mother. But then, Elizabeth's pragmatic best friend, Charlotte Lucas, steps right in and accepts Mr. Collins immediately. See, Charlotte is 27 with no fortune. She prioritizes the legal and financial security of coverture over romantic love, noting very realistically that happiness in marriage is entirely a matter of chance. This dynamic perfectly sets up the central conflict of the story. Both of our main characters have some serious blind spots. Elizabeth's fatal flaw is her intense prejudice. She prides herself on her judgment, but blindly trusts Wickham's charm while instantly villainizing Darcy. On the flip side, Darcy's flaw is his immense pride. He looks down on the Bennets' lack of social grace and lower standing, even going so far as to secretly separate Bingley from Jane because he deems the family an unsuitable match. Now, you might be wondering, how does Austen make us, the readers, fall for these exact same flaws? Well, academics literally write entire linguistic papers on this. She uses a revolutionary storytelling trick called free indirect discourse. It's basically a kind of mind reading, where the narrator's voice seamlessly blends with the character's internal thoughts, without even using tags like she thought. This brilliantly traps us right inside Elizabeth's biased point of view, making us fall for the exact same prejudices she does. It's a real game changer in literature. And because of this bias, the drama completely explodes. Believing Jane doesn't truly love Bingley, Darcy convinces him to leave for London, leaving Jane totally heartbroken. Months later, Darcy, who has been secretly fighting his feelings this whole time, proposes to Elizabeth. But he fumbles it so terribly, focusing entirely on how her lower-class family makes this a bad idea, that she furiously rejects him. The very next day, Darcy hands her a shockingly honest letter explaining everything, that he separated Jane and Bingley out of misguided concern, and that Wickham is actually a manipulative fortune hunter who tried to elope with Darcy's teenage sister. Just like that, Elizabeth's entire worldview and her prejudice completely shatters. Section 5. The Pemberley Scandal. Just when Elizabeth begins to recognize her own vanities, the stakes get raised to an absolute boiling point. While on a trip with her aunt and uncle, Elizabeth impulsively decides to tour Pemberley, which is Darcy's spectacular £10,000-a-year estate. But instead of seeing a monument to his massive pride, she hears glowing reviews of his deep kindness and generosity from his housekeeper. And when Darcy unexpectedly shows up, the cold pride is just gone. He treats her and her working-class relatives with newfound genuine humility. It's at this moment Elizabeth starts to realize she might actually be falling in love with him. But then, disaster strikes out of nowhere. A devastating letter arrives. The reckless, youngest Bennet sister, Lydia, has run away with the manipulative Wickham. And worse, there's absolutely no proof they intend to marry. You have to understand, in Regency society, an unmarried woman living with a man was a scandal of epic proportions. It wouldn't just ruin Lydia. That social taint would spread like wildfire and destroy any chance the other Bennet sisters had of ever finding respectable marriages. It meant total social and financial ruin for the entire family. No way around it. Section 6. Overcoming Pride and Prejudice. This brings us to the climax, where we see exactly what happens when our characters actually learn to overcome their fatal flaws and take action. So Darcy, feeling incredibly guilty that he kept Wickham's true, villainous nature a secret, leaps into action. Proving he has entirely shed his toxic pride, Darcy uses his immense wealth and power to dive headfirst into the seedy underworld of London. He secretly tracks down the runaway couple, pays off all of Wickham's massive debts, and literally buys Wickham a military commission just to force him to marry Lydia. He does the whole shebang to save the Bennet family from destruction, and he asks for absolutely no credit in return. This heroic, selfless act paves the way for a glorious, rapid-fire resolution. Darcy corrects his past mistake and brings Bingley back to Jane, and they get engaged. Then, Darcy's terrifyingly snobbish aunt, Lady Catherine, storms in to demand Elizabeth promise never to marry Darcy. But Elizabeth fiercely refuses to back down. Hearing this gives Darcy hope, and he proposes a second time, but this time with total humility. And Elizabeth happily accepts. 2 deeply satisfying weddings, just like that. This really reveals the true genius of the plot. You see, Pride and Prejudice weren't just a catchy title or minor character quirks. They were the monumental flaws blocking these characters from finding survival and happiness. Only by conquering their own worst traits, learning to see past first impressions, and treating each other as equals, could Darcy and Elizabeth actually beat the high-stakes game of 19th century society and forge a true partnership. Jane Austen wrapped a masterful critique of marriage, law, and social class inside one of the greatest love stories ever told. And it leaves us with a fascinating final thought to chew on. If you were dropped into the Regency survival game today, where the law literally dictated your financial survival, which path would you have chosen? Would you hold out for love and respect like Elizabeth, or lock down your security right away like Charlotte? Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring the amazing depths behind the classics.